Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by LASIK.com, where better vision equals better calls. My name is Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I get to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right. Streetside Brewery are great friends sponsoring this episode, sponsoring the show. Good people over there. They've got amazing beer. And guess what? They are located in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood. Okay. You might have heard that they were located in other neighborhoods by some very misinformed people. And they were wrong. They were misinformed. It is the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood. Okay, that's where you can find them. It's a great spot. Like, it's a genuinely really cool venue. They've got indoor space, they got outdoor space, and awesome outside patio. It is perfect for weather that we've been getting these last couple of days, last couple of weeks. It's been really, really fun to go out to Streetside. They show all of the FC Cincinnati away matches as a pub partner, and they have delicious beer there that you can drink, and they are amazing at basically every style of beer. They are not afraid to experiment, but they also have, and I cannot thank them enough for this, a literal boring beer on the menu. So if you don't want to play around with any of the crazy flavors and styles, you can just go up there, ask for a boring beer, and they will hand you a boring beer. Huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this and so many other episodes of the Postcast. And on today's episode, oh baby, it is 5 wins in a row. FC Cincinnati cannot stop winning. They're not even trying to stop winning, okay? Just to be clear, they keep trying to win, but they can't stop winning. FC Cincinnati cruises past SKC 2-1 on the back of Kevin Denkey. And Kevin Denkey landed on his back as he scored one of the most beautiful goals in FC Cincinnati history. We discuss where it ranks in FC Cincinnati history, the beauty of that goal. We look at the big picture of what this game means and where this team stands now with the roster as constructed, the way this team is set up to play. It has been a successful season so far. That is not to be doubted. But has it been as good as it could be? I don't think anybody thinks it has been. Some really good conversations around this one. We wrap it up in part 2 with some Patreon questions, and I apologize, get all emotional and personal at the end of this one. So buckle up, you're in for a roller coaster of a postcast. And joining me to talk about all of that and more, I am joined by 2 gentlemen who are just as surprised as you are to find that FC Cincinnati is now on a 5-game winning streak, joined by Grayson and joined by the chef. Chef,
hey,
how's it going?
Gotta talk to somebody about that. If only I knew a guy I could call to stop this from happening.
So the problem was, I know he's familiar with you and your work. I wasn't sure if it was a bit, and I did not want to correct him and step on the bit.
Yeah. I think after we're done recording, I'm going to give him a call and just be like, hey, it's the chef. Give me a call back.
I did appreciate that he saved it very well. I later said, yeah, it's the chief, but chef isn't far off. He's always cooking up some hot takes.
Hey.
To which Ken Brew responded, well, I've never known him to cook anything edible.
That's absolutely true. I was about to say, I was going to point out that, if you made a list of things you were distributing skill points into for the character creation, cooking would be dead last.
If people are not familiar with what I'm talking about, I was lucky enough to go on Ken Brew's morning show, Sunday, 700 WLW. We were talking about the team's performance, FC Cincinnati, obviously, where he multiple times referred to the chief as the chef.
Yeah, well,
You win some, you lose some.
You know what? If it was good enough for Raekwon, it's good enough for me. That's all I gotta say about that. As to your first point, though,
please.
Surprised to wake up this team is in first place? Not really. Not really. But maybe we should be, because I saw this tweet go out today. I retweeted it on X, the everything app. It's all happening on X. Cincy Soccer Talk. FC Cincinnati is currently in first place in the Supporters Shield standings.
Not anymore, but
it was true last night.
It was true last night.
That makes 3 consecutive years that the Orange and Blue have topped the table at some point during the MLS season. This is the first time a club has achieved that since DC United in 1996, which ball knowers will know, the inaugural year for MLS.
Yes.
From 1996 to 1998. So maybe we should be a little more surprised that this team has accomplished this feat.
Here's my question for you, Grayson. How many teams were in the league in 1996?
12?
12's a good answer.
Was it
Chief?
Do you know the answer?
I do know the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not one of those moments.
I think it was like 8, wasn't it?
8 is also a good answer. You add those 2 and divide by 2, you get the answer. It was 10.
10? Yeah.
10 teams.
Split the difference there.
Colorado Rapids, Columbus Crew, DC United, Dallas Burn, Kansas City Wiz, Los Angeles Galaxy, New England Revolution, the lovely named New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, the San Jose Class, and the Tampa Bay Mutiny. The Chicago Fire and the Miami Fusion would be expansion teams over the next couple of years. So there you go.
Yeah. So it really wasn't that big of an accomplishment to lead a league of 10 teams.
There were not a lot of options to beat the first couple of teams here.
Like, you really didn't have to climb over that many teams to reach the top of the food chain.
So there's only 10 teams. They did play 32 games. So you get used to some teams after a while. Wait a second. I'm looking at Cincy Soccer Talk. What is that? Oh, at some point. They said at some point. Never mind. I walk it all back. The year ended with the Tampa Bay Mutiny at top.
Yeah.
Well, you know that we didn't.
Yes, correct.
Win the Supporters Shield last year.
Yes, no.
Famously did not win the Supporters Shield last year.
If you misunderstood the tweet, that should have been like your first.
It's like, hang on a tick.
Inclination.
I don't know why. I just assumed DC United would have finished the year.
Who has been in first place more weeks over those 3 years of anybody?
That would be way more fun.
I mean, we were in first place for a long time.
Yeah.
In 23.
Like, we almost went wire to wire.
24. Yeah.
Right. But 23, like, once I feel like we got in first place like pretty early in the year and never let go.
May. Yeah. And then that was it.
It is an interesting thing, though, that like in each of these seasons, because we're now on a 5-game winning streak, 6 games unbeaten.
Yes.
It is a weird pattern emerging that this team goes on a run at the start of the season, like around it takes a couple weeks to break in. But then in April and May, this team heats up to like melt the surface of the sun level. And really the question has been, do they amass enough points to get over the fact that they sort of collapsed their way to the finish line? We built up enough points in 2023. We didn't quite build up enough points in 2024 before the wheels fell off.
Yeah. It's just so funny though that, this year it feels like we're on a slightly different trajectory, but we'll see. Right.
It feels like we're on a slightly different trajectory, but there are some similarities to 2024 in this regard. And that's that here we find ourselves with another FC match where they won, they scored multiple goals, and where the narrative is going to continue to be, man, imagine how good this team's going to be when it finally all starts clicking, or when they shift out of third gear. Whereas we said that all last year and the team just never found the next gear. So it kind of feels like we're running 2023 back to a little bit of a certain extent. I don't know. Am I wrong in that like this feels very similar to last year?
Well, I think that there's two things. To the extent that there was a late I don't know, collapse or whatever, late fade, both those seasons, I think that you can attribute that to like kind of the same two things. One, injuries, and injuries and absences, that hit us both of those years. Last year, especially last year, more so.
Yeah,
and then the inability, or just like neither of those teams got better in the summer window, or did any adding. I mean, they both added in the summer window, but in 23 it was Bupenza replacing Brenner, right?
Yeah.
So it's like basically like for like, right? You're trying to tread water. I know that Brenner basically like pulled himself out of the team, but
yeah,
it was you're essentially just
on a roster construction point. Yeah,
you're standing pat on a roster construction point. And then last year it was kind of the same thing. It was trying to get bodies in at the center back position where they were sorely lacking,
and find a striker,
and they didn't. They didn't find a striker, right? But they tried to improve. I mean, we know they tried to improve last year. They tried really hard to improve last year, and it just didn't work out. And I think that'll be something to look at heading into the summer, is are they able to do something to take this team to another level? I think what sets this team apart from those two teams is we have not seen this team to date. And I will say that includes today's date, at anything I would say approaches what you view as its full power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the 23 and 24 teams, you had like preset teams, especially 23. There was a lot of continuity in the attack early in the year. So that attack, should have been, about like pretty good, because since they were good in 22, carried over a lot of the same guys heading into 23. You had a fully healthy center back core. They had fully healthy center backs to start last year. You had the same stud. You had studs 23, studs 24. We have studs on the roster in 25. We haven't had them all at the same time yet.
Yeah.
And that still is true because Hadebe is out and we don't know who the starting three center backs are yet, right? And we've had more turnover in attacking positions than either of those years, right?
Yeah.
So things are very rusty, and you're still getting bodies back from long injury layoffs. So I think that in a way that the 23 and 24 teams didn't, this team has, based on just bodies in the room, a lot of room still to improve.
Yeah.
I buy it.
Why don't we get right into this game? Because I think that like there's a lot in this game that sort of goes to that, and that this, in a strange sort of way, this game provides kind of a microcosm, I think, of where this season is at this very second right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say though, before we dive into the lineup in the game, the pregame situation, I don't know how you two took in the pregame. It was Kids Day, and I did get the opportunity to take my son. So I want to say good job to the club. I thought the Washington Park was done very well. It was exciting for a little 5-year-old. He got a kick out of that. That was a good time. I also want to give a special shout out to the supporters groups. They did something that I, one, never thought I'd ever see, and two, always wanted to see, which is booths at Washington Park. Now, I always want to see this, but also never thought I'd see it for the same reason why I never helped make it happen, which is it sounds so great for somebody else to do. Like,
Yeah.
when you're in the supporters group, you want to hang out at the supporters bar, you want to drink beforehand, all that stuff. You don't want to, try to pitch your recruitment pitch to people and try to sell scarves to a bunch of people that have never been to an FC Cincinnati game. Totally get it. But they pulled it off in this game, and it was really fun. Kids enjoyed it. Looked like they had big crowds over there. I suspect, outside of when they turned on their renewals this year, that'll go down as the number one day of adding new members for all of the groups. So good job, everybody. I will also say, Pat Noonan commented on the atmosphere of the game, saying that it was a really great atmosphere for a 2:30 game, and also said that he was happy to see all the young kids out there. So well done to the club pulling off a really good kids day.
First sellout of the year too. We'd wondered about that in the pregame in the Thursday episode last week. Full sellout. Everyone there early. My feelings on early matches are well documented. Not a fan, but people showed out. Love that for them.
It was a good look. It was a good look from everybody. Also, funnel cakes. Keep those around, team. What are we doing? That fair food works really well as stadium food. So
I'm still triggered on funnel cakes because when I was in college, I worked a job at the movie theater out at right by Mercy Health Training Center. There used to be a Showcase Cinemas out there in Milford, right behind where the team trains now. And for some stupid reason, they decided it wasn't enough just to sell popcorn and sodas and everything at this thing. And they had to have two different like full basic restaurants. And there was like one that served, you had to work there, you had to be a short order cook and making like cheese steaks and quesadillas and shit nobody needs to take into a movie to eat. Like just, you don't need this. Get dinner beforehand. And then on the other side of the building, there was a concession stand that sold pizza and then like all sorts of your basic like fried dough type things like, donut balls, elephant ears, and then funnel cakes as well. And the way you made this, obviously, was you had the funnel cake batter and you made it in the deep fryer. And I hated making them because it would cause like the fryer oil to bubble. And there was more than enough time where I came home from work just covered in little burns on my hand from making these things. And one time I accidentally, as I was pouring the batter, and I dipped the knuckle of my pointer finger into the oil.
Oh,
so if you've never had an oil burn on the actual knuckle of your finger, let me tell you, you are missing out on just a spectacular 3 to 4 days.
Oh, man. Yeah, that'll turn you off.
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm
not
done with
good.
funnel cakes. No, it's not for me at this point in my life.
I'll admit it's been a while since I've tried to get these at Great American Ballpark, but they used to sell funnel fries. And I know Skyline had them for a little bit in store, but that was real good too. So I like a funnel fry. So yeah, all right. Kids Day. Well done, everybody. Okay. Lineup for this game going in. Celentano in goal, making his 100th start or cap. I forget what the actual stat was. I think it was start. It would make sense. I don't think he's ever come in.
He's been. I don't think he's ever been subbed into a match.
Right. So 100th appearance, 100th cap. Well done. Lucas Angle is your left wing back. Nick Haglin, Miles Robinson, Matt Miazga as your central defense. DeAndre Yedlin as your right wing back. It was Buka and Anunga as your defensive midfielders, with the attacking front three of Evander, Oreshano, and Denkey up top. Grayson, thoughts when you saw the lineup?
I thought that they took me seriously when I said it was a must kill. Because,
about as good of a lineup they could put out there.
Right. About as good as of a lineup that team health allowed.
Yeah. Was there, I guess there's like at this point, assuming Obi and Kubo are not healthy and Hidebi's not healthy, like there's really nothing to question before this game and what you would have expected from Noonan, right? Like, is there?
Yeah, this is the best lineup they can, like, absent subbing in Obi into the middle in place of Nunga. I think at this point, this is the starting lineup for this team. I think Hidebi is going to have to prove that he can play better than Nick Hagland at this point and show better than Nick Hagland in training in order to reclaim a starting spot. Hagland has been nothing short of fantastic since coming back.
Yeah, I'm with Chief. I mean, Kevin, like you said, assuming that Obina and Kubo are not available to start, this is exactly the team you'd expect to start if they were going to start, the best lineup. I think that the only discussion to be had is if you would have to get into whether they would be better off using different formations, or whether Luka should be starting in the wingback position. Yeah, which maybe we'll touch on later.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. It's just nice that we have like a settled lineup, and I don't know where we stand in terms of like unique lineups like we were last year, but at least this felt right. And I'm thinking back especially of like other teams I've followed over the years. It is really nice, and I just don't want it to go unnoticed that like we have a set hierarchy, a set plan, a set formation, and we know what to expect. The players know what to expect. The other team knows what to expect, and they still get results. Like there's no need to like be tricky or make some weird sub to try to play to what the other team is doing. They throw it out there and say, all right, beat us. And most teams can't.
That's true. But to Grayson's point, this is the optimal lineup playing with Pat Noonan's back three.
Right.
And this is how he has decided he wants to deploy this team. But I think I don't think you can discuss FC Cincinnati this year specifically. You can probably even go back to last year, but this year specifically, without sort of acknowledging that there are some significant trade-offs that this team is making by playing in this formation. And a lot of them were on display this week in particular, and have been multiple times this year already, but this week in particular, with just this idea. And that's that there was once again in this game that the way that FC Cincinnati is being defended, and Sporting Kansas City came out and they had a very clear defensive plan. It's a defensive plan a lot of teams have employed against Cincinnati. And that's that we are going to take advantage of the fact that we have a numerical advantage in the midfield and force you to play wide. Yep. And the insistence by Noonan to have three center backs is taking a man out of the midfield. And so as a result, whenever they tried to play through the midfield and play through the middle, they were being outnumbered and the passing lanes were being closed down and there were fewer options to distribute the ball forward. Now, the way the FC countered that was by having and telling, I'm assuming telling, Denkey, Evander, and Orishano to drift further back into the midfield to receive passes and to be part of the buildup. But if they're doing that, they are not forward to receive the progressive pass that comes from that part. And, I don't, it's getting results. It's winning. And to a certain extent, I said it last night on the Bird app that, scoreboard. And this is a team that was at the time leading Supporters Shield. They have won 5 in a row, unbeaten in 6, but you continue to watch this team play, and it's hard not to feel when you watch this that we have an extra man on the back line and that person isn't in the midfield, and that person is hurting this team's ability to possess the ball for long stretches and is hurting this team's ability to build to goals and build through possession. And the idea of funneling the ball out wide, it's great in theory, but DeAndre Yedlin is a defensive center back, is a defensive wing back at this point in his career. So he's not offering that attack forward or that over the top threat, because he's, for whether it's coaching, whether it's, what he wants to do or how he's reading the game, he is not offering the ability to go over the top or to play deep with runs and stretching the defense. So everything has to go through Lucas Engel's side, and it's making this team very one-dimensional and very easy to defend. And I think that what you saw with Sporting KC playing a very, very high line, there was no concern that they had that someone was going to get over the top and beat them. They just didn't have that fear. And the attempts to move the ball out wide just didn't work. And so there were just large stretches of play in this game where FC Cincinnati in possession was just ineffective. And again, framing all this around, they won the game. They're winning games. But it just feels like watching this team that they're playing with one hand tied behind their back due to their formation choices and how they are deploying specific people on the field. I'm sure we'll get to talk about it, but specifically with Luca Orishano as well.
Well, I think, since I think it's fair game to talk about this, because this is kind of what we've been talking about for the last, minute or two. The best this formation has been with basically attackers on the outside.
Yeah.
With like Alvaro Barreal is an attacking player. Yamil Assad was an attacking player. Santi Arias, while having played a lot of fullback in Europe, was a world-class player and had as good or better attacking, abilities as like any winger in MLS,
Yeah.
And what we have now are three center backs,
High quality.
High quality. But we're talking, yeah, right. High quality. This is not a judgment on any of these players' quality as player. We're just talking about how they all fit together, right?
Right.
So you have three center backs. You have two essentially fullbacks.
Yeah.
Engel has looked better and I thought this game was one of his better games. And he created or had a hand in creating, I don't want to say creative, but he had a hand in creating that first goal.
Yeah.
And had some other dangerous moments, and probably should have had a goal or two if he didn't like spaz out a little bit. But Yedlin, who Chief you said is really a fullback. Like he's a right back at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have those five who are defensive players. With, in the case of Engel and Yedlin, they're defensive players who can get forward, but they're not attacking players, at least that we've seen this season. And then in midfield, you have Pavel, who's great ball playing midfielder who
Do
has
everything.
Do everything midfielder. But then you have like a destroyer.
Yeah.
Midfielder who doesn't add much in the buildup in either Anunga or Obina. And then so you have six players essentially who are defensive players. And when you are playing with possession, you're going to see a lot of what we see, which is like cycling back and then struggling in the final third, and then we see a lot of slow buildup, I think, with this team. And so if they're not going to have like real attackers on the outside of the defense, then I think you have two options: 4-man backline to get another guy in the midfield, or play another ball playing midfielder next to Buka, which I guess on the team would be Kubo or Dotto or Baird.
Yeah. It's one of those three. And honestly, this team might look better with Kubo next to Buka going forward.
You wouldn't think that you would need a pure destroyer
with three center backs and two more defensively capable fullbacks.
The destroyer role, it made a lot of sense when you had two wing backs who were, we'll say, had a casual relationship with defense. We've always had wingbacks that were pacey enough to get back on defense, but they were not natural defenders. They were mostly like Barreal was a converted winger.
Right.
He was an attack first guy. Even last year when Luca Orishano was playing, on the wing a little bit.
Yeah.
Who even played right wing back in 22? Was it Powell all the time?
22?
Yeah, because that's when they started playing the back three.
That was a lot of Gaddis and a lot of
Gaddis and
Powell.
Powell, yeah.
Yeah. But you need the destroyer as someone that can slide over and cover for whoever makes the deep run. If everyone's going to stay back and we're not going to see the deep runs over the top and the wingback getting into, and when I talk about the wingback getting into the attack, I'm talking about you would see Barreal cut inside into the 18-yard box. You would see Arias getting forward to do the same thing. And somebody had to be back to cover. And that was the destroyer role. That's where Obi was at his best, was covering for them. But if everything is going to be so defensive minded, I don't know that that's the best use of having your formation. To me, one of two players has to go in this setup. And if they're going to continue to play a back three, I think either Yedlin has to go or Obi has to go. I don't think the two of them can both be on the field because I think they're both creating offensive inadequacy. I don't think it's a slight on either player. I think if you're in a back four, I think DeAndre Yedlin makes a ton of sense on the right side of a back four. Unless he's going to press forward and be told to attack more, which I don't know that he can do at this point in his career. I don't know what he's capable of still. I don't know that it's the best use of resources to have Yedlin on the field along with Obi and with Engel.
Yeah.
There's one other thing that they're likely going to see more of that will help, which is Miles and Matt can both be really excellent passing out of the back and breaking lines with their passing.
Yeah.
And we've seen some of that with Flores as well.
You'll also notice in this game, I was going to bring this up later, Miles got forward a lot more in this game. And I wondered if that was sort of an adjustment that Noonan was making, that someone needs to push forward from the back three just to create an additional body in the central midfield.
Well, in 23, there was a lot of freestyling from the center backs.
Yeah, Yerson Mosquera specifically would go on little adventures all the time out of the back.
If everybody gets healthy and, if Hadebe wins starting spot back, no slight to Nick.
Right.
Okay. But if Hadebe wins a starting spot back or Flores makes his way into the starting lineup, you may have three center backs who are all health permitting, fully capable of getting forward and freestyling a bit, and then also fully capable of, covering when one of their compatriots does that.
Can I ask a strange question? Could Miles Robinson play Obi's role?
So, Chief, I'm so glad you brought this up.
This is Chiefs. This is Kevin's, not Chiefs. This is Kevin's bugbear. I'll let you talk, Kevin.
Yes.
But Kevin is always suggesting a center back for Obi's role.
Not a center back, Miles specifically.
But he was pushing Awaziem for that last year.
Yes, I was. But I was actually, no, this is so funny because I'm going to flip it on its head. I was going to suggest Obi for center back.
He's too small.
I don't need him to be that. I'm going to give him the Rafa Marquez role of the free roaming center back that he's nominally a central defender, but really he has so much freedom to move forward and help push the attack that Miles and Miazga will more than make up for when he's not there. But it would allow you to keep, say, Kubo and Buka well ahead of him and pushing way further up the field.
I'm not really trying to take one of our center backs off the field, to be honest.
That's the other hard part, is that it's kind of the strength of the team is that. So to me, it's the back four makes the most sense. Logically speaking, the back four makes the most sense, but you have such good center backs and you have
a
lot of them. So given that, that's why I have now sort of switched my opinion after thinking about it to if you're not going to move Miles Robinson to the Obi role so you can keep more people on the field, then either Obi or Yedlin, one of the two of them has to turn into someone who offers more going forward. And with Obi's role, it's like, look, you have 3 very talented center backs. Let them handle the defending and push someone else further up the field. Like, we've seen Kubo fill that role at times.
Right.
But like, Kubo offers way more with his ability to move the ball and the pass, this year aside, than Obi ever will. Or with Yedlin off the field, if that goes back to being like Luca Orishano, then you have someone that will absolutely get further up the field. Obi can then cover for that when he's going and pushing further in and getting out of position. And then you're also freeing up an additional spot in the attack for somebody like a Corey Baird or, Sergio Santos, or you can rotate through that position there.
So then let me ask you this. Yeah, let's put it to the test. Of those 2 options, would you rather Orishano be your wingback and let's put Sergio Santos up top, keeping everything else the same? That means Yedlin to the bench. Or would you rather, I'll say, Corey Baird in for Obi and you keep everything else the same? I think
for me,
when I say it out loud, it feels like,
for me, it's Orishano.
Yeah.
To the wing.
Out to the winger, because not only does it give you more offense at that spot, I think it puts Orishano in a position where he's been shown to be more consistently effective. Because it's kind of like placing him right.
Yeah.
Out wide.
He's just better out wide. We've seen it 2 years now.
And, we got multiple options for that other forward position. You got
the other
Kubo
option
coming back. You got Santos. You got Baird. You got Dado. You got whoever the big top 20 signing is in the summer.
Right. It's the other thing too is that I think that it also solves the other problem of Orishano. And I put online yesterday watching the game, is it time to have a conversation about Luca Orishano? In this regard, am I being unfair? Maybe I am. I've been known to be unfair. Or is this is this another one of the chef cooking up a hot take? I find that Luca Orishano has been ineffective thus far this year in the deployment they've had him. And I was noticing this specifically in the game yesterday as I watched, is that he tends to get in the way of Kevin Denkey and Evander a lot.
Yeah, I think get him away from those players on the field, at least when they're not like passing to each other. Right.
And that like Orishano's a space merchant. Like, what you want is you want to get him the ball in space where he can do what he did to set up one of Denkey's goal, where he is 1v1 with someone and he can use his superior dribbling skills to create the opportunity to do something with the ball. And as he is being deployed currently, he's ending up in the same parts of the field as Denkey. He's not staying far enough forward and running off people in order to free up space and move defenders around for other people. If he's not going to be that person as the striker pairing, I think you got to get him back out wide at this point.
I completely agree. In this game, the team looked a lot better when he went out wide as well. Now, part of that is Obi comes in, but it was hard not to see that. And Santos moved up top as well. So, there were other variables. I'm not going to say it was perfect test chamber there, but he looked a lot better. The team looked a lot better, which I'll be honest with you, like, part of my hesitation with all this is that, like, I really like DeAndre Yedlin as a person and as a player, and I think it's really cool he's here, but it's really hard not to notice that, like, the team looked instantly better with Orishano playing that position. And while I think Yedlin is not, let's say, past it or washed by any means, he doesn't offer an offensive threat that teams have to respect. They don't have to, they don't. When he is on the ball, he is going to pass it to somebody nearby. He's not going to make a killer cross. He is not going to dribble in and beat a bunch of guys and take a shot. That's just not in his game.
Like, Orishano can take multiple guys out of the play with his dribble. Versus when you have him, like Chief said, kind of taking spaces of Denkey and Evander, you have kind of the opposite problem, where you have like a single defender taking both, Orishano and Denkey out of the play.
Yeah. Whereas Orishano cutting into the box, like from the sideline there, it forces the defense to shift and cover him, especially when he starts beating guys. He instantly becomes a threat. Shape. Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, Evander or Denkey is open somewhere in the box,
which is what's missing on this team. Like right now, when we talk about where like the offense feels like it's stagnant, it's the numerical disadvantage they have in the midfield, and it's the fact that the team right now is not. And I think Pat Noonan is alluding to all this in his post-game comments. Like, he is not pleased with how this team is playing, despite the results. He is complaining about the way this team is playing for the past 3 wins. And I think part of it is this idea that there is not enough being done based on the personnel grouping to move people around, to create space and create openings. And as a result, they're finding it really, really hard to pass through. And they're finding it really, really hard to break through compact defending because they're not doing things that get the defense out of shape. And to your point about Yedlin, I wish we had somebody that would ask this. I wish we could ask this question to the coaching staff. And there's only limited amounts of time, and you're obviously limited by like what kind of answer you're going to get. Is Yedlin being coached to do this, or is this Yedlin on his own? Because if Yedlin's being coached to stay back,
yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. And then my question follow-up is why? He's a world-class talent that's played overseas. He still seems to be up for it, physically. He has in his career been good going forward as an over-the-top threat. Why aren't we taking advantage of that? And if he's being coached to do this, why did we sign him? And why is he playing this position?
And he's about as good of a one-on-one defender we've had on the outside of our defense ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Like good enough that he can overcome a size disadvantage and play center back with virtually no drop off.
Yeah, which I misspoke earlier. He moved to center back. He didn't come off the field there. Yeah. So what's funny though is, and I wanted to ask this, and it also leads up to the first goal. So this works out well. Despite all of the changes and fix that we would all make to the literal first place team in the East, a really solid defense that gives up 1 or none goals every game, and then 2 of the most physically gifted and technically gifted players in the league up top in Denkey and Evander, and throw in Buka and Orishano X factors to get a couple goals a game. Like, is it viable? Like, is this actually viable? Because it's kind of working.
The teams were. I mean, I think it's viable because you can come away from every game and think, yeah, we have better players than everybody.
Right.
Like, you can come away from every game and just say, like, yeah, our players are way better than theirs. But also, I guess what I would add is, the teams that we've been beating aren't the teams that, this team is built to beat in MLS. And by that, I mean, these aren't the teams that we're going to have to go through to win trophies.
Right.
And we're beating these other teams not in particularly convincing fashion. But I don't want to overstate my concern at that. I am fine winning games.
Is it viable? Yeah. It's always viable to play really good defense and get just enough offense to win. There have been teams around the world that have found this to be an incredibly effective strategy. Your margin for error is small.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not a team that's going to this is not a team that's going to weather injuries well, especially, God forbid, something happened to one of these attacking pieces. And all of a sudden you can't just brute force your way to a goal on superior talent.
Well, won a couple of those games without Evander, I do want to point out.
Yeah. But
also
your margin
really bad,
bad
teams.
teams.
Still tight margins.
And, occasionally in this league, you're going to have to win a game against a team that's going to come out and score 3 or 4 on you. And you're going to have to get results doing that. I mean, Nashville came out this week. They beat Chicago 7-2. That's a team that, we won against, but we didn't put a hurting on 7-2. So
5 goals in the first half, by the way.
Yeah.
People didn't see that.
They don't do that. They play with their food too much because, again, there's a lot of effort spent on the defensive side of things, and you're just waiting for moments of brilliance from the offense. So I think it's viable. And, it's like politics. Anyone's electable if you vote for them. Any strategy is winnable if you win games doing it.
Right.
I feel like there is so much talent on this team, and there is so much skill and quality that it's kind of a sin to only be winning these games by 1 goal. Like, you got to be you got to let the Wild Stallions run a little bit, right?
It is so funny, especially before this game, I had a couple of people ask me, what I'm thinking of 2 friends in particular that were saying, hey, we're taking our kids to their first game. Haven't been following that close. Are we supposed to win? Should it be a good time? And I, a moron, said, oh, yeah, we're playing a bad team that just fired their coach. We're at home. You guys should be in for a really exciting game. And don't get me wrong.
Oh, they got their money's worth. They got their money's worth. Don't worry about that.
But watching this game, if you knew nothing, wouldn't scream, oh, one of the best teams in the league, one of the worst teams in the league. You would have thought these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams. And one of the guys on one of the teams just had a career day.
Yeah.
So that does take us, though, in terms of being an incredibly defensive team and then letting the offense out talent the other team to the first goal. This is a fun one because it gets to start off by saying Brian Anunga wins the ball and makes a forward pass. So the haters are in shambles. He passes what looks to be about, I'll give it a generous 10 yards forward to Evander. Evander picks the ball up, is given way too much space by the defense. He fires in a pass to Buka. Buka immediately lays it off for Angle. Angle takes a shot. It's an awesome shot. Left-footed shot. Keeper is in full stretch to parry that ball away. Unfortunately for the keeper, parries it right into the path of a on-rushing Kevin Denkey, who hits it, by the way, on the bounce in the air off of the keeper's save. So not something just on the ground. Hits it cleanly. Keeper actually scrambles back and almost gets a hand to it. Scores the goal. It's a trickier goal than it looks, and I know Noonan called that out as well in his post-game press conference. But we're up 1-0 just before half, and I'll tell you, for me, any nerves I had about not having scored against SKC up to this point, put to ease. We were winning this game as soon as this happened.
Yeah, I know he doesn't get the stat, but I put it out on Twitter that Lucas Engel, and I think we've done this before.
Yes.
Got the official postcast assist.
Yes.
You should get an assist for forcing the shot for the parry or for the rebound.
If we're going to give secondary assists, this is a secondary assist.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
But you love to see it. It's like, once it gets to Evander, it's a bang bang play.
Yep. And
part of why Denkey was able to get that rebound was because they moved quickly enough, and Angle took a hard enough shot that both the keeper couldn't save it cleanly, and the defense was, a little out of sorts and not in a place to get that rebound.
Yes.
And obviously, Kevin, you said it, class finish.
Yeah.
Very. First touch directly into the back of the net from Denkey. I like the fact that the ball moved quickly, because too often in these builds that we've seen from the team, there's hesitation on the ball and hesitation to get a shot off. Angle takes a great rip. It's on frame. It's going to require a save. Grayson said it's hit with pace, which, negates the ability to, number one, catch it. And also that on the deflection, it's going to come out to Denkey quickly. He's not going to have to run up and get the ball and give time for the defense to get set or get in a position to block the shot or give the keeper a chance to reset position to make the save. So it's hit with pace. It rebounds with pace. First time, he doesn't try to take an extra touch to set himself. That's something that what separates a world-class global striker from just your run-of-the-mill guy you're going to find bopping around MLS is that Denkey has the ability to take that first time and be accurate with the take. And it's why everyone's screaming to shoot more. Just put the ball on net more. Get the ball into the box more. Like, all it takes is one touch for Denkey to do something special, whether that comes from a pass, whether that comes from the rebound. I want more things that are going to get the ball to him.
Yeah. Again, in this game, Denkey, 3 touches in the box. 2 of them are goals.
2 goals. Imagine what would happen if he had 10. We might look more like Nashville.
That's what I'm saying. Now, maybe there's like diminishing returns, Kevin. He actually only scores on the first 3 touches.
No, I don't believe that. I've seen the man's abs. That man doesn't do anything half-assed.
That is a whole-assed man. All right.
Yes.
That's for damn sure. It's a great goal. It feels good going into halftime there. I thought also in this game, Roman did very well. I know he has like 1 flubbed clearance, but otherwise, I thought he was really good in this game where he was able to come out for crosses pretty well. Mm-hmm. There was a tricky one right at the start of the second half where the ball was bouncing around and they actually got a weird looping header, but Roman was shielded by like 4 guys, 2 of our guys, 2 of their guys. And honestly, if it went in, it would have been really hard to blame Roman for it, but he saw it and caught it. And that was great. I was genuinely nervous when that weird looping header came in because I wasn't sure he saw it coming.
He came out in the second half and he was under siege a little bit. Like the SKC was definitely the better of the 2 teams coming out of half. They were up for it. They were clearly trying to get the ball forward to Joveljic and look for that goal to tie in. I think that they thought they could come out and they could win. They could draw this game and get a point out of it. And so they kind of blitzed FCC for the first 20, 25 minutes of that second half. Roman was on point. He was collected. He came out effectively. I think he controlled the back line well on set pieces. There were a couple corner kicks where I thought the defense played well. You give credit to the keeper for getting everybody lined up where they need to go. I thought he was very good in this game. Even the goal that was given up, I don't think the goal was his fault. I think there was a little bit of ball watching by the center backs late in the game that led to that. Mm-hmm. So overall, I thought it was a very good game for Roman. And they needed it because one of the things about this team is that I don't think often enough they put the foot down on bad teams. Yeah, they did that versus to their credit. They did that when they beat the Chicago Fire. Is that they got up that second goal. They got up 3-1 in that game, and they kind of put their foot down on the game a little bit. In this game, it took them a while to do that. And it's thankful they did because they end up conceding. But like they should have come out from the half and they should have looked to put this team away. Instead, they backed up a little bit. They ran into more problems possessing the ball, and they ended up having to defend a lot more than I think you would like to against a team like SKC.
Yeah, I'm looking at the little FOTMob momentum tracker here. Yeah, they have it all SKC up until about the 70th minute, and then it levels out right up until Denkey's second goal. So they were definitely under siege. It's notable that it's in the 63rd minute, though, that Obi comes on and Sergio Santos comes on. Santos comes on for Matt Miazga, which I thought was interesting. And
they're still working Miazga back to full fitness. You can tell that like they don't think he's there yet to go a full 90.
I think they even laid out like a path, and it include 45, 60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it might be another game or two before we see him go a full 90. But yeah, that's about the time. No, that is the time, not about the time. That is literally the exact minute that DeAndre Yedlin moves to center back. Luca Orishano moves to right wing back, and Sergio Santos takes Orishano's spot up top as one of the three attackers. And that is notable because on Denkey's second goal, it comes off a corner, kind of. It starts with a corner, let's say. The corner does not go according to plan. It bounces out, goes out to Obi. Obi hits it wide to Orishano. And this is where Orishano being wide is useful because they have to give Orishano space, because if they play him too tight, they know he can beat them on the dribble. And we know that because that's exactly how this play starts, is that they give him a lot of space and then they charge in, and then Orishano beats him, gets to the end line, is afforded a little bit more space, and it's in that space he is able to get a nice cross into the box. It's a really good cross, but it's what Kevin Denkey does with the cross that steals everything. I believe I've not kept that close of tabs on every single goal scored in the league. This has got to be a leader in the clubhouse right now for goal of the season in MLS. Kevin Denkey sizes up the ball and does the only thing that he can do. I mean, he probably had like 10 other things he could do, but he does the most majestic thing possible. A near perfect bicycle kick. His body goes completely level with the ground. Leg overhead, over body, sends the ball into the top corner. The keeper's not expecting it. Doesn't really have a chance.
Who the hell is expecting that?
It's so good. Chief, as I told Ken Brew, the only analog I have here is Pele's overhead kick to end the movie Victory. This was so good.
I want to point out, I've been scoring this goal since I was a little kid on NES World Cup. You hit the A and the B button together, and it's a pretty fair approximation to what Denkey did right there. I was raised to believe that was a lot more common in soccer than it really was based on those 8-bit graphics.
Grayson, a point you raised that I don't think I've seen, and this is how you know it's a good bicycle kick. Nobody's trying to do the bicycle kick trutherism where they go, actually, he's 35 degrees off, so it's a scissor kick. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I was ready, though, to defend it. The only person who wasn't excited about that kick was Evander, who was streaking into the box and would have, I think, probably received the ball on his chest had Denkey's foot not been there first.
Which I will just say again is further evidence that Orishano should play right wing back.
Yeah. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in person at a sporting event. That I was going in my mind trying to think what is cooler that I have seen live recently. And like, I'm going back to Jay Bruce hitting a walk-off to clinch the NL Central. Like, right. That's how far back we're going to, like, that fucking ruled. What was so great about it too was that there was, like all great sports moments, there was a moment of stunned silence, just a hair of silence as everyone was like, what in God's name did we just see? And then the entire place goes bananas. And then the turn, everyone simultaneously turn to the video board, waiting for the replay to confirm what they just saw.
I love that because, it happens so fast in the moment. You're like, wait, okay, did I just imagine that? Like, that was the most spectacular thing in the world. I got to see the replay.
Yeah. Just, I bumped into one of the OG club employees. We'll have him on as a guest at some point, Jeff Smith. And I gave him a high five on the way out, and I told him as I was walking out, they will sell season tickets with that commercial on TV, with that footage on TV for years to come. Like,
Yeah.
order your FC Cincinnati season tickets now with a man going upside down to score a goal.
So, of course, a goal of this magnitude, a goal of this beauty prompts a lot of questions. One of them is, where does this rank in the FC Cincinnati all-time goals? This is a fun question. I do think people need to, and I've certainly been guilty of this in the past. I think it's important to separate like importance of goal versus like aesthetics of goal, because yes, a lot of important goals have been scored that haven't been all that beautiful. Like GB's header versus Columbus. Yes, he heads it to himself. That is fun. That
It's
is
kind of
good.
mid, though, if we're being honest.
It's not like the most beautiful goal. You're not going to see it with like techno music from a kid from Eastern Europe putting together like best goals ever of all time playlists. But like this one you could see on there.
Yeah.
It is notable that the last two MLS goals of the season were FC Cincinnati players, Orishano and Acosta, not to mention Barreal had a Puskas nominee somewhere in there. We
For the Open Cup, though, so it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have even qualified
Correct.
for MLS Goal of the Year. Otherwise,
Correct.
it would have won, probably.
All of those in TQL Stadium, so that's fun. But
Yeah. So
there's been some good ones.
So for me, your Mount Rushmore of, I'm going to call them I'm him goals,
Yes.
where it's just like, fuck, man. We're vaguely of the same species that you can pull this off. So it's now on the Mount Rushmore along with Sean Coley's scissor kick goal in FCC game 1, match 1 at Nippert Stadium.
Yeah.
Lucho Acosta, I'm going to dribble all these and go Leroy Jenkins goal of the year. The Alvaro Barreal Puskas goal. And this has knocked off the Luca Orishano half-court shot.
Ooh.
This is now the 4th on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. So here's why I'm putting it just behind Lucho's goal against Charlotte.
Okay.
Lucho's goal against Charlotte was like a singular moment of genius.
Yes.
Like he saw that goal from midfield. Like,
Yeah.
What's funny is the Spanish announcer also, I think, saw it.
Yeah, like he saw the Matrix code in that moment, and he was like, the game, like everything slowed down.
Yes.
It's like, I know how this ends.
he's
Yes.
like, man, I got this easy opportunity right now. All I got to do is dribble 5 guys. All I got to do is dribble 5 guys across 40 yards.
That's what made Lucho great, though, is I think he always felt that way.
And if you asked him, he would say, you know what, I probably could have done 6, 7 might have been a reach.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's why this is going over. Plus, like, it's longer. And everybody has a moment watching the run when you start to think, oh, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's different for everybody. You kind of have a whole experience watching it. And this goal is just, it's just an instant. Right.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing instant, but it's not as much of a journey.
Right.
Right.
And it's a little less audacious.
Yeah, this goal is OBJ, one-handed catch. Just unbelievable.
Yes.
The Lucho goal was Barry Sanders juking 15 guys because 4 guys got up, tried to tackle him again, and still got juked out on the touchdown run.
Yeah. Or,
they're both brilliant, but for entirely different reasons.
Yeah. I'll also say, too, what a funny thing about this is Orishano does the bomb twice, which I think kind of hurts it a little bit just because of how repeatable it is.
Right.
If this bicycle kick is happening every week, it will start to slowly feel less special.
It feels, it also feels slightly more repeatable than Lucho's run.
Yes.
Like neither one is extremely repeatable.
Right.
But
I think Lucho would argue that that's very repeatable. Considering he tried it every goddamn game afterwards.
I think the rest of the year we're more likely to see, and I don't think we'll see either, but we're more likely to see another bicycle kick than we are to see somebody on this team do like that, repeat that Lucho goal.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that separates this as well is that Denkey saw this as yet another opportunity to take his shirt off, where now I am genuinely worried he's going to get a yellow card accumulation suspension just for celebrating incredible goals.
It might be the only way he gets a rest. So like he may be actually trying to do this.
He's got this figured out. So question for the two of you. If I provided a mattress and a person that was willing to continue to keep delivering that cross over and over again, how many times would it take the two of you to actually successfully complete a bicycle kick and score a goal?
Oh God, I'd be there for days.
I mean, in the year of our Lord 2025, I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, like, I'm of the mind that death would be a more likely outcome than actually scoring the goal.
I mean, I could pull off under the right circumstances, like an overhead kick that involves jumping, but like the acrobatics that he did, like never. The answer is never.
Right.
I had it in my mind yesterday after consuming more alcohol than I probably should have, that like if we were fully committed to like the content creator bit, it would be really funny to do this, but to start the video off instead with each of us consulting our physicians and asking them for their honest opinion if this is a good idea or not, and just recording what the answer would be.
Well, here's the other thing. Yes, but I don't want to waive any HIPAA rights or, waive my medical privilege. We have a lot of important conversations. But the other is like just not like as bendy as I used to be. I don't have
things a little stiff.
And I feel just I don't engage in as much like kind of reckless, potentially bone breaking behavior as I used to. But I do think that I just have a sense that my bones are more prone to breaking than they used to be. But it is a sense that I'm not like it's a theory. Don't need to prove it. It's fine.
But see, the thing is that if I had to guess as to which, like the order in which the three of us would accomplish this task, the order would be, I think, Grayson, Kevin, me. I think simple physics puts me at the bottom. But Grayson, you ski. That has to have something that, like, there has to be something that's an overlap between these two things.
Here's
I don't do backflips. I'm not.
Oh, is that not a part of your skiing? Okay,
not Stein Erickson over here.
No, I did Top Golf for the first time ever today, and my arms are sore. So, like,
well, you don't need to use your arms to do a bike. It's okay.
No, I'm just saying in terms of physical fitness, if swinging a golf club a couple of times is enough to tire me out, I don't know that I'm necessarily flinging my body up in the air like that.
You might use your arms. Maybe some type of windmill action will help you. Like
if you flap them hard enough.
You're doing this like old timey, getting ready, pumping your arms to jump.
Do I get a small trampoline?
Second question. Who on the FC would you say is most likely to also be able to accomplish this feat and least likely to be able to accomplish this feat?
Most likely is Alvis Powell.
I love where your head's at on this. I don't know that I follow.
My man is a wild card.
That is true. He is a bundle of chaos energy. This is accurate.
Here's what you need to do a bicycle kick. One, a willingness to do a bicycle kick. And I feel like that already eliminates most of the team, but it doesn't eliminate Alvis Powell. That's all I need.
So people who there's no doubt in my mind they could do a bicycle kick are, yes, Alvis, Evan Loro.
Of course.
I bet Evander could do it.
I don't think Evander can.
So I bet Miles can do it.
I think Evander can. I don't think Evander would try. Like
I don't think he would. I think he can. I think Miles can.
Right. But that goes to your first point where you said the number one thing is the willingness to do the bicycle kick. So continue, Grayson.
I think Hagelin can.
Or Shano?
I think Sergio Santos probably can.
I think you're missing the most obvious candidate to do it, though.
Please.
It's Stefan Schirilla because he's young and he's bendable.
He's bendy.
I'm not sure. I gotta see him.
He's got youth on his side doing this.
He's got broccoli hair.
Least likely to be able to do it, Alec can.
I mean, he has to be healthy. You have to pick somebody that's healthy on this.
His hips don't work. That's not fair.
It would be funny if this is the one thing Yu Kubo can't do.
Ooh.
Brad Smith.
No, I think Brad Smith can do it. He's not weighted down. He's not weighted down by hair either, so that helps.
It does seem like a thing an Aussie can do.
Yeah,
he's more aerodynamic.
I don't think Teenage Abe can do it. He doesn't give me vibes of a bicycle kick guy.
I don't think Matt can do it.
I don't think Matt can do it right now.
I think Matt believes he can do it, though.
That might be enough.
Like, I think if you ask Matt, I think Matt would definitely, like, if there was $50 on the table, I think Matt would definitely try.
Could Anunga?
He's pretty low. He's got a low center of gravity. I don't know about that.
I'm inclined to say no. He might be.
I'm
too
inclined
muscly.
to say no.
Yeah. What about Obi? Obi doesn't give bicycle kick energy either.
No.
Obi plays low to the ground. Obi doesn't get up in the air. Obi understands where his role is.
But Obi makes some of those tackles that the refs keep calling fouls that nobody else in the league can make.
But they're low to the ground.
Right, like, but he's got a lot of agility and he can like fling his body around.
Yeah. Man.
You know who definitely believes they can still do a bicycle kick is Pat Noonan. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that Pat Noonan believes he can do a bicycle kick right now.
Actually, I bet you Chris Albright thinks he can do it.
No, there's no doubt of that
either. Oh, God. Do we want to talk about... Actually, I do want to talk about SKC's goal. And I want to talk about SKC's goal for this reason and this reason. I'd almost say alone, but there's other reasons. In the build-up to this goal,
there's a foul.
There is a foul. There's a very clear foul. And it is as a result of that foul that the ball is able to be re-won. So there is a 50-50 header. I believe it's between Denkey and a central defender, but the replay I'm looking at, I don't have a good view of that. The ball then bounces towards the top of the box of the FCC box. We're maybe 40, 45 yards out. Sergio Santos is the closest player to the ball.
He's clearly going to get it.
Yes, he's going to get the ball. The SKC player is also running at a good clip, but behind Santos. In running, he knocks Santos down, freeing 2 to maybe even 3 SKC players to have the ball unchecked against one center back. That center back is Nick Hagelin.
My recollection also is that the guy's arms come out. That he gives Santos a sub. That's how a shove. That's how we remember it.
Let me. I've got the replay right up here in front of me. Okay, there's the header, and so his arms wildly swing. One of them is certainly shoving. The other one is like just swinging for no reason. It's a very weird look, but yes, he is swinging his arms. Sergio Santos is shoved. The ball is won back. It is passed very cleanly to one of the other 3 players. They get a good shot off. It's a tough angle. He hits it up just under the bar. It's a great shot. Orishano is kind of left one-on-one. You'd expect a professional soccer player to be able to score there. They do. It is now 2-1. I want to bring this up because this is my LASIK.com moment of the match, because the referee should have absolutely seen this foul in the buildup. How many times have we seen VAR call back goals because of a foul in the buildup that allowed the buildup to happen? It allows the goal to happen. If that foul is properly called, this does not happen. And it is not a foul against SKC, and therefore he's playing advantage. And then, something happens like that. FCC did not have the ball. So FCC could not get advantage that they then immediately lost. Also defeats the purpose of advantage. This was a blown call leading to a goal. Very frustrating. LASIK moment of the match, which means I am nominating the center referee to get LASIK corrective eye surgery, which, by the way, you can too. If you go to LASIK.com/thepostcincy, you can get $1,100 off your procedure. You can go there. You get a free consultation with them. Okay. I highly recommend it. Now, here's the, well, first off, LASIK, by the way, some of the best people in the country do that here in Cincinnati. We're like a LASIK hotbed, and you should absolutely do it. And that discount is incredible. $1,100 off. This is where I used to say no other podcast is giving you that. But I've been told that a new front has opened on the podcast wars. And Cincy Soccer Talk has apparently got a sponsor out there offering them a $1,101 discount, which, if true, absolutely hilarious. But second, LASIK, please give us $2 more off so that we can beat CST. Just $2 more off. That's all I need, just so we can reclaim our throne. Okay. But yeah, that was tough. That was a tough look. I tried to tweet. Apparently the tweets weren't exactly working on match day. Blue Sky was working. Twitter wasn't. I thought confidently this was coming back after seeing that foul.
Yeah. It's a tough look, especially because when you watch the replay, you can very clearly see arms outstretched that indicate that a shove happened or a push happened. And there's no doubt in my mind that would have been blown dead immediately if that was going the other way versus the FC. I didn't think this official covered himself in glory at all during this game. This was yet another game where the AR that was down the east sideline of TQL Stadium was horridly out of position for the overwhelming majority of the game. There was one play where he called a ball out across the end line that Hagelin had saved, where he was in no position to make that call. Like there was no chance that he was, because he was still running. There's no chance he had a view down the end line to see whether or not that ball stayed in or not. And
it stayed in because I was in position to see that ball and it stayed in.
There was another one where
he missed an offside call because he was still running and it wasn't with the last defender.
There was another one where he called a foul that the ref was right next to and didn't call. And he was down. It was down at our attacking end. And this guy was at midfield and the ref was right next to the play, didn't call the foul. And then our guy is like, what's the foul call? And the ref pointed to the AR. And I'm like, man, you're the one in position to make this call.
Yeah.
Like you can't point to the guy halfway down the field and say, well, he called it.
Yeah.
The AR can recommend a foul call, my guy.
Yeah,
you can wave him off.
he was not great. And then also just another clown act performance by the official. You are officially a clown as an official if the first foul of the game pulls out a yellow card.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
There was a foul right after that. There was a foul right after that where the SKC defender stopped a promising attack. No yellow. Which is like a textbook yellow.
That's why it was invented.
he gave I think it was a Nunga.
Yeah, yellow first foul again.
First foul of the game where it was just like a run of the mill foul. Maybe he thought it was a little hard, but like, come on.
No, that alone nominates you for clown status. But again, we talked about it on the World's Gam. The officiating in this league actively hinders the enjoyment of the product.
Yeah. Disappointing.
I will say this though for the goal as well.
Please.
The foul and the buildup is annoying. I thought Nick Hagelin played a pretty great game overall. Got caught a little ball watching on this goal, and I think that he could have done a little better to react on this.
Yeah. I think so.
But I'm not gonna sit here and get mad about it, given the way that the rest of the match went.
Oh well, nevertheless.
Yeah. Sam, there you go. Yeah, good game overall. Sold out crowd, as we said. It was a good time. You gotta like that the team is cruising on ahead. Is there anything else from this game that we maybe missed we want to touch on? Corey Baird comes in late in the 90th minute for Denkey. Denkey gets a nice standing ovation for his work.
Maybe just to say this about Denkey is that he scores both goals in this game, one of which is one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen on a sport at a sporting event in my life. And you know what? No matter what else you want to say, part of the narrative going into this season, one of the questions we had going into this season was, Chris Albright brings in 2 designated players into this team to try and keep the championship window open. Mm-hmm. And this was on the heels of a disappointing, don't like to speak ill of the dead, but disappointing run that Aaron Bopenza had as a designated player, where they ate the entire cost of the transfer fee that they paid for him. And they struck out at the window last year. And there was a question of, when we bought these players, what were we going to get? And how long was it going to take them to adjust to playing, and specifically Denkey to adjust to playing in this league? What you can say about both guys at this point is as advertised. Yeah. Maybe you're going to want a little bit more out of Evander from open play. I thought this was a quiet game for him. Not exactly the kind of dominant force you would like him to be in a game where against an inferior opponent. But with Denkey, the quality is just game-changing good. And game-changing good to a level that you just don't see a lot in this league. Like, there are not a lot of strikers that are playing at as high of a level with fewer opportunities than Kevin Denkey right now. And that's put into contrast more by, players on Charlotte popping off at the mouth because they're not performing up to expectations, high-priced players.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Denkey and Evander both on 6 goals on the season. At time of recording, that puts them both in the top 8. That weirdly ties us with the San Jose Earthquakes, each with 6 players, 2 goals with 6.
Two players with 6 goals.
With 6 goals each. Yes. Chicho Arango and Joseph Martinez. So wild. Your Golden Boot leader right now, though, is Ty Baribo, which we can also take credit for. So
yeah,
there you go. Let's head on over to part 2, where we will answer some Patreon questions. We'll let you get back to your week. All right, we are back, and we've got some questions to answer, okay? Thanks to the very fine folks over on our Patreon that financially support the show. They do a good job with us. Man, it is really cool that people still actually support the show. For $2 a month, you can do that as well. And as a part of supporting us, you get to ask a question that we ask here on the podcast. Now, Chief, last time we did this, you threw out there a question that was, or a challenge to folks, which was if they would give a 5-star review to the World's Gam, which is our MLS podcast, and posted proof of it, they could ask an additional question. I'm happy to report that we have one person so far that I have seen that has taken you up on this.
Hell yeah. That's one more listener. We'll get to 12 in no time on the other show.
Oh my God, we got one of them. IMH asks, my question is, given that you guys, I'm gonna add some grammar here. Given your all's legal background, what do you think about Tay K getting another 80 years? I have to admit, I have no idea what this is about.
I don't know either.
I don't know either. Hold on.
But it sounds like it sucks.
Or it's good. What is Tay-K? Tay-K.
Kevin Kelsey just had a really nice goal for Portland.
Tay-K is an American rapper and convicted murderer, according to Wikipedia.
Ooh, this sucks.
Gonna keep an open mind here.
Right.
He is 24 years old currently.
Southern hip hop. Ooh, do I know any of these songs?
Formerly of the Daytona Boys, with a Z, of course.
I don't know. I was always partial to the Hot Boys if we're going to be doing like rap groups back in or the 504 Boys from New Orleans also were fantastic.
Oh, a second murder charge.
Yeah, you don't like the multiple.
Right, you really hate you really hate to see a second murder.
When there's just one, you feel like you can talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. I do appreciate though that, like, you know, we had a lull in the rap game a little bit with rappers living the rap lifestyle. You know, it's been a minute since C Murder was convicted of murder.
Right.
From with the No Limit Soldiers. And, you know, that was a guy where you knew that guy was about the life. Or like 50 Cent, where the man was shot 9 times over multiple rap beefs. That man lived the life. I don't get the sense Future lives the life. So it's good. Or like, you know, the Migos. I don't think the Migos live the life. This will be good that we're finally getting some rappers that are back about the life.
Well, so listen, here's something that I think is underappreciated. Okay.
Please.
A lot of rappers like to reference like old mafia figures like Capone. Yes. You got a guy named like Young Gotti, you know, and they're like, oh, we like model ourselves after these gangsters.
Yes.
Right. And then everybody attacks Tekashi 6ix9ine for doing the most mafia thing anybody could possibly do, which is rat everybody out.
That is the true mafia tradition.
Like these guys could not wait to turn on each other.
Really, the Don in the end is the last man standing, which is to say the first person talking to the FBI.
Right.
Man.
So I guess free Tay-K or don't, depending on how good the evidence was. Quick
glance to the Wikipedia says, probably 80 years made sense.
Yeah. I'm not going to read it, but I will say, you know, I mean, we don't have prison abolition in the United States yet.
Correct.
So like, this is the way that things are handled. So I just hope, I guess. I
hope everyone got a fair trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope the third team did their job in the courtroom.
Yep.
David Ziegler asks, and I am going to modify David's question just a little bit. I'll ask his question in entirety, but then I'll add a little thing on there. This was asked 2 weeks ago, which David Ziegler asked, what is the podcast equivalent of a Grand Slam, as in golf? But then I'll also say potentially, what is the podcast equivalent of a bicycle kick goal? The Grand Slam golf is what? Winning
the Grand Slam is 4. It's the Masters, the US Open, the Open PGA. Championship, and the PGA Championship.
Okay.
Then the Grand Slam, not to be confused with the Grand Slam in tennis, which is, I think, Wimbledon, the French Open, the US Open, and the Australian Open in tennis.
Yes. So it's probably winning
a Favi.
Obviously.
Winning a Favi is like winning the PGA Championship. It's a part of the it's one of the majors, but it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I
Peabody.
Peabody's a lot, but yes.
Peabody is winning the Masters. Peabody is winning
a Webby.
A Webby is the
Webby feels like the one that people are starting to care about.
A Grammy is the British Open.
The Open Championship.
Yeah, I know, but for people who don't know,
Well,
It's
we're
commonly
not
called the British Open.
No, we're not talking to non-ball knowers right here. We're talking to ball knowers right here. And the ball knowers know it's the Open Championship.
Is there a Grammy for podcasts?
Spoken word.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like spoken word, like books. Right?
Or like William Shatner doing his album, one or the other.
Right. It's like usually people narrating their own book. For some reason gets to win a Grammy, which is the dumbest thing ever. But
I mean, really winning the grand slam of a podcast is making enough money on the podcast to quit your boring other job and just do the podcast. Like,
I was gonna say, if you look up like the statistics for podcasts, like getting 100 downloads ever puts you in the top 10%. Like it's a tough
like,
world.
I'm not gonna lie, like the winning the major as a podcaster is getting a call from like Barstool and saying, hey, we'd like to buy the rights to your show.
Right.
Like winning the major is getting like hired by that. Like winning the super major is we want to buy the rights and have someone else do it and just pay you royalties so that you never have to podcast again. We want to buy your format and your listener base.
So I'll speak to the folks out there that don't have kids. There is the worst thing in the world happened, which is there's this guy that went by Blippy. I don't know if any of you have come across Blippy. It was just a dude who came up with a really clever idea, which is that he was going to make like the most annoying, over the top, geared towards children YouTube videos.
Wait, hold on. Is he the one that did the Harlem Shake video where he got?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, where he dropped a deuce like on a friend's chest or something, like as a part of the thing. Yes.
Kids content creator. Neat.
So, it goes beyond content.
I don't think
creators.
he was a kid's content creator yet.
He was not. It was earlier. However, it was still up on YouTube as of like a couple of years ago. So weird. But he not only like struck a whole bunch of content deals with like he's got a show on Amazon and stuff, but he has, Chief, to your dream, he has reached the point where he has now left it and there is a new person actually playing the character of Blippy and he no longer has to do it.
Oh,
and
he regenerated. That's exciting.
Yeah,
He
is
did a
now
Gallagher.
he's just collecting the royalty checks on, again, the lowest effort content possible. He doesn't even have to do it anymore.
Does like the new show go by Blippy Who? Because that would be really funny on multiple levels.
No, it's just like it's like if they recast Steve in Blue's Clues. You just have to
Well, he
pretend that
died.
the new
Everybody
guy-
knows that.
Oh,
Didn't they
true.
recast Steve?
I thought they gave him a different name.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they
I
like
don't
acknowledged
know,
it was
man.
a different
I don't know.
human. I could be wrong. Okay.
It's not. It's the same.
No, it's very important.
What's the equivalent of doing a bicycle kick as a podcast host?
Like getting a good interview.
Getting a good guest
Yeah.
on the show and not sounding like a moron when you. No, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what? All right, you know what the real answer is here. I'm gonna be real for a second.
Please.
It's when you have a guest on and you ask the question that sort of breaks the awkwardness of having someone on a podcast.
Yeah.
So like for me, my personal bicycle kick was when we had Roman Celentano on the show.
Yes.
And it was a little weird. Like we knew we were like intruding on his personal time because he was doing his interview in the front seat of his car. He didn't know anything about who we were or what we were doing.
Yep.
And the first question I asked was, tell us more about your decision to grow a mustache. When did you decide you were a mustache guy? And from that point forward, he knew exactly the vibe that this entire show was going for.
That's a good point. All right, I've got two questions here that are very funny to read back to back. Caitlin Hardy asks, and my computer just skipped. Okay. I asked ChatGPT to come up with something. So this is a question from ChatGPT. Let's say each MLS team had to be represented by a local food item on the pitch, as in actually playing. What's FC Cincinnati's starting striker? A Skyline chili coney? And who do you bench because they're too messy? ChatGPT, I see where you're going, but when you say the actual item playing, it does.
So he's just going to sit there on a plate and not
Correct.
do anything?
So I think in this case, we want the biggest thing. So we might be able to bounce the ball off.
Well, I mean, what would be the scariest thing to make like an anthropomorphic version of? Like a Geta and cheese omelet from Price Hill Chili.
Yeah, I mean, like anything with Cincinnati chili on it with melted cheese is going to look horrific if it comes to life.
Yeah, a cheese coney mascot.
A Buskin cookie smiley face could be
I mean,
like
just that would be
creepy.
terrifying just to see
Right.
like a giant cookie smiling as it descends upon you. It's some like Lovecraftian horror.
That might be able to like roll around. I don't know what the physics are here, but
You make it big enough, it just blocks the goal.
that's a good point. Can you bake a pizza large enough you could just hang it over the goal and it is now a pretty good goalkeeper?
Well, I mean, shit, you've seen how thick Taglio pizza is. You just like keep making that like, you know, super Detroit deep crust. Pile it up high enough there.
It's true. Or like a vat of beer, right? I guess it says food item instead of edible item. Damn.
Drink your dinner. We've all been there.
Now this is funny. So these were asked a week apart. Sarah Gorman asks, I haven't been able to think of a good question recently, so I asked ChatGPT.
Jesus.
To which the question is, if FC Cincinnati players were an item on the Skyline menu, who would be the five-way and who would be a plain hot dog and why?
The plain hot
Nungo would be the plain hot dog.
Okay. I see it. I see the vision.
Well, there's no chance Kevin Denkey is eating a hot dog if he knows what's in it. So, especially as a
Correct.
vegan or a vegetarian.
Right.
So the five-way
It's Matt Miazga. He's just a
Ooh.
little extra.
It's a little extra. I was going to say Sergio Santos for some reason. I don't know why.
Have we talked about Sergio
No,
Santos'
yeah, you're
hair?
right. You're right.
Like,
Miazga brings the beans and onions,
yeah.
Yes.
He's not.
which
he's
is
not
a
making
new
that
phrase that man, he really brought the beans and onions that game.
He brought the beans
This is our
and the
new.
onions.
This is our new saying. This is footballing
I'm
culture.
I'm always saying this.
Always been saying this. When a guy brings both the beans and the onions, you don't want to mess with him.
Boy, that's our pitch to get Gold Star back as a sponsor. Is who's the man that brought the beans and onions to this match?
The spiritual successor to the Deckel Smash is who brought the beans and onions.
He brought the beans and onions. That just sounds like something they used to talk about in like 20s baseball culture. It's like, man, he brought the beans and onions with him today to the mound.
Yeah. Actually, if you ask, what is it, Google's AI, you can make up like nonsensical like phrases, like common phrases that are just nonsense that you make up and ask it, what does it mean? It will give you an answer. It'll tell you, oh yeah, no, this comes from this. This is what it means.
That's awesome. I do want to reiterate my
yeah.
question. Have we talked about Sergio Santos's hair and like how incredible it is right now?
I don't think we have.
Badass.
It's pretty
I was-
great.
I was explaining to my wife. I was like, yeah, he's got like extensions in, or like a
Yes.
weave. I don't know what exactly you would call what he has in. She's like, well, how do you know? And I was like, well, he didn't have any of that hair last week.
No, he had it under his cap.
Whatever it is, it's awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
great.
here
I
for
love
it.
it.
Is there, for some reason, I would think that there would be a rule against like hair extensions, but I guess there wouldn't be.
Oh, come on.
I mean, not that I want there to be. I'm just.
I know, but no, I don't think so.
What can now? This feels like a rule we might be able to exploit. What can you put into your hair to claim it as extensions that may help you on the
Imagine, like,
field?
Roman with like a giant afro stopping penalty kicks, just extending his radius of his head outward at least like 3 feet, just like cartoonishly large.
Like a
Can you have,
strong
like-
wind.
Can you have like very sharp hair?
With like, you know, like cloud
Like-
strife, like spiky hair going
like
on.
a
Yes.
defender's running next to you and you just kind of like wag your head a little bit and take his eye out.
Yeah, like a really well gelled mohawk that it just becomes like a problem.
This was the Bianca Belair theory in the WWE for a while, is that she had like a really long braid and would use it as a weapon because it was technically not a foreign object being brought into the ring.
Ooh, can you get a foul for like whipping your hair at somebody? This feels like a question that has to have been answered.
It's head-to-head contact, technically, right?
Oh, is your hair your head?
It's existential.
I'm sure this is well explained.
This was actually Lucho's defense when he headbutted Aaron Long. It's like, I wasn't making contact with his head. My hair was making contact with him.
Oh God, I love it. Let's see. I've got one more for us. Are we good for just one last question?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And I hate to do this to us because this one is not quite as fun, but it made sense on Kids Day to bring this one up. It comes from John, which I would just reiterate is not me as we read this question. John asks, this one is specifically for Kevin. And if it's too personal, I'm more than okay if you want to skip it. Oh, too late, John. I know you have adopted through foster care. My wife and I have 4 out of 6 of our kids through this route. This is obviously not the traditional route.
This question sucks, Kevin. You're right.
Yeah.
Boo. People start booing their podcast.
Nobody wants to listen to this real talk.
This is obviously not the traditional route, but why did you decide to foster? And if that's too personal,
it would have been really funny if the question was, how many of them do you think can do bicycle kicks right now?
how many of the adopted
and how do we go about adopting kids specifically that can do bicycle kicks?
And was it after like measuring your own and your wife's VO2 max? You're like, if we got to get somebody else in this household.
We're like putting him through the scouting combine, and it's like, I've got him below Shedeur Sanders in my big board right now.
Look how long that baby is. Look at the length. Look at the length on that arm.
Look, we measured this baby's hands. He's gonna be good.
Right. It's like we're looking for one that's left-handed that seems like they'd be good to go 4 innings plus in a major league game.
So when you do, there is an end to the question, but to the bit here, when you do become a foster parent, there's a questionnaire you fill out as to basically the description of the children that you would be comfortable bringing into your home, which is very weird and awkward and extremely long and a very sad list. But it is funny to think that like soccer ability should be like a box that you check. Like, yeah, I need the good soccer players come in. I need the good basketball players come in.
It worked for Michael Orr's parents, I guess.
Yeah. And apparently not him on that one.
It turns out.
But the end of the question is, do you have a PSA for those considering becoming a foster parent but are on the fence?
You know, it would be really funny, right? To say, sorry, no free plugs. Just the cruelest shit imaginable.
Oh my God. And no, you're going to have to pay sponsorship dollars, John. No. We'd always intended to foster. That was always a plan. This is going to sound weird, and I always feel weird saying this, but we fostered animals before. So we were fostering animals. That is how we ended up adopting our 2 dogs. And it was always a thing that we wanted to do. We've done okay in our lives, and so we wanted to be able to share that with the hopes of adopting, but that was not our goal, to be clear. We were good little libs that were happy to, help out the bio parents and help them through their journey. We talked to lots of different people who had been through the foster program, both as like kids and as parents. Found a great organization. And again, no free plugs, but I can speak very highly for the folks over at Beach Acres, based on other people I've talked to. they did an amazing job, like, of actually preparing us, which was really nice. So that is why. But the PSA and the question I always get asked by people, which is a weird question that I get asked a lot of this, but is, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a foster parent, but I don't want to just jump in. Like, that seems scary. And you're 100% right. So this is what I would recommend you do. Find an agency. Beach Acres is great. They relocated to downtown, so they're very easy to access these days. You can become what's called a respite care provider. So here's the funny thing. In these situations where kids are in foster care, the state has taken children away from parents. That's a big deal. That should be very difficult to do in a free society. So with that, if you're a foster parent, you cannot just hand the kids over to like the neighborhood babysitter. That's not okay. Like that, it doesn't work like that. You can only have a babysitter who is also registered with the state of Ohio and has gone through the various background checks. And that is a respite provider. So if you're on the fence, you can become a respite provider, and then you can become a foster kid babysitter. So like at most, you're just working with these kids for a couple of hours, but you will help out a foster parent so much because they don't get to use regular babysitters. So that would be the intro way. And if you find you enjoy it, you find a good relationship with the foster parents, you may go further from there, and you'll already be, partway down the path of some of the approvals. So there you go. That was a lot to say, but John asked a good personal question. So we didn't
talk about ever, Kevin, on this. We never talked about this publicly because I couldn't for my old job. When you were going through the process for this,
yes,
I was working very closely providing legal services for the Department of Job and Family Services, and we had just started the podcast, and I was like, we cannot talk about this. Like,
that's right.
I don't want to hear details. This can't come up. We can't talk about this. Acknowledge any of this going on right here, because I don't want to be in a position where there's ever a question being asked about it. So like we'd have a private conversation about that where it's like, hey, I'm really happy with what you're going through. Can you not put updates ever in the group text or on the group chat that we've got with a bunch of the people that do like the background stuff for the post? So not that I don't love what you're doing, but for the love of God, we don't want to complicate this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, our kids showed up, this was hilarious, February 7th, 2021 is when they first came to us, brother and sister. We eventually adopted them a couple of years later, but the night they showed up was Super Bowl Sunday. So you go from being dinks, dual income, no kids, just sitting around watching the Super Bowl, to suddenly having two kids in your life, which was wild, adjustment there. But we also were able to foster their younger brother when he was 2 days old until he was 6 months. He was reunited with a biological family member, not with us, but there were multiple times we thought we were not going to be able to adopt our kids. After being told we were going to be able to adopt the kids, it was a very stressful time. So it is not for, I don't know, people with emotions. Like, it will break you. It is only the most depressing, disturbing, and heartbreaking parts of society there. So, but it is extremely rewarding if you do it. So there you go. A positive note. My son played his first like actual soccer game today. Scored 6 goals. Okay, we're doing good. So we've got, the family is off in the right direction.
There you go. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah. So I apologize for bringing the mood down, but John asked the question, so there you go.
So if you know who to blame.
Yeah, blame John for bringing.
It's always a good look
down.
To throw the Patreon under the bus based on the order you select the questions here, Kevin.
Yeah, it's like he was able to share his like bicycle kick of life moment.
Is that my bicycle kick moment of my life, is adopting my kids? Probably.
I mean, I don't know that I want to say kick and kids in the same sentence, but
Oh yeah.
That's a good point. So yeah, there you go. If folks would like to also be able to ask a question. You can do that on the Patreon. You can Google it. You can search on Patreon for the Post Cincy. There's also links in this description of this podcast, so feel free to jump in there.
Offers still open too. You post your post your review of the podcast of the World's Gam. You can ask an additional question, and Grayson extended that to May as well.
Yes.
So if you are I'm not asking anyone to lie. If you are listening to the other podcast and enjoying the other podcast, feel free and you can ask another question. If you're not, maybe just keep those thoughts to yourself.
Yeah, don't tell anybody that. Come on, that's between you and your God.
Right.
Good deal. Chief,
right.
I think that's a podcast.
I think that's a podcast too. Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.